Now, if you are someone who wants to know what exactly manifestation is, how it works, and how I can use it to manifest my goals and desires effortlessly, then this video is for you. Now, without this hidden knowledge, you will keep being stuck and you will be under the mercy of God or the universe or whatever you want to call it. Over the years, I have manifested pretty much everything I wanted, and I have invested thousands of hours and dollars, read a ridiculous amount of books, and implemented this for years to bring you this one video. So I want your full focus. Don't keep any other tabs open, and of course, you need to take notes, right? So let's get right into this video. So to learn, understand, and use the art of manifestation, first there are some truths that you need to realize and you need to learn about the nature of how our reality works, right? So let's first talk about our physical reality. Now, this reality is the one that you experience every day. We can call it the three-dimensional reality, 3D reality, right? So the reality that you live through, that you experience every day, most of the people, or even you might think that physical reality is physical and everything is absolute. And you might think situations and circumstances are appearing out of random and you are experiencing bad stuff because of some unknown fate. And you might think, or majority of people think, that action is the only way to change our reality. Through sheer hard work and through our action, we can change our reality. And that is true to a certain extent, but it is not true at all, right? It might seem paradoxical, but you will get my point as you progress through this video. So the truth of our reality is our physical reality is an illusion and an effect. Now, why do I say that our reality is an illusion and an effect? First, you need to understand and realize that everything is one. We are all connected. We are all one being, right? Duality doesn't exist, right? If we think it exists, for example, hot and cold, or tall and short, or you might think that me and you are separate beings, but we are all connected. We are just one being. Now, this might seem confusing, but I promise you this will be clear as you progress through this video, right? So everything is one, right? And it may seem that you are separate with others, you are separate and you are just one single being, but that's not true, right? So our universe, everything in our universe is in constant motion and it is held together by various forces. For example, if I give you a powerful microscope and I ask you to zoom into this pen, you will find out that there are subatomic particles and that keeps vibrating and it is held together by some force, right? And that is what I'm representing here, right? So it seems physical, right? Everything we experience, it is so real. It is so like, it is real. You think it's real, right? But it is an illusion and it is an effect. Let's debunk it. So mainstream science says that everything is physical and everything is material, but quantum physics denies this claim. So there's an experiment called double slit experiment. You might heard of it or you might not, but let's look into it. So in this experiment, scientists sent tiny bits of particles, tiny bits of matter. They are electrons, right? They sent electrons through a wall-like barrier, and in this wall-like barrier, there were two slits, two narrow slits. It was an opening, right? So that these electrons, these tiny bits of matter can't pass through. So when the scientists observed on what was happening, you would expect that these electrons pass through these slits and it forms, let me use a different marker so that you will understand. You would expect that there's a pattern getting formed, right? Because this is matter, right? Electrons or matter, they are just very tiny particles and they can pass through these slits. And this is a photosensitive plate, and this plate is there to record where these electrons are getting landed, right? So in this plate, you would expect that these electrons, these tiny bits of particles, pass through these slits and it gets landed like this, right? And this is what the scientists observed. But some electrons bounced off because it couldn't get into this slits, right? So naturally, some electrons couldn't pass through. But the interesting fact is, some electrons did land over these other areas. Now, these are physical matter. So you would expect these physical matter cannot enter through these areas, right? It can only enter to the slits. It can't enter through the other areas because it is solid, right? But Some electrons did pass through the areas that you would expect it couldn't pass through, right? So the scientists were confused, as we would be, as they should be, right? So next, what they did is, instead of observing, right, on the first case scenario, they observed what was happening, and majority of the electrons that did pass through the slits formed an image, right? But some of the electrons passed through the wall instead of the slits and was appearing on the places where you wouldn't expect for it to appear, right? Now, in the next case scenario, the scientists did one critical change. They did not observe the passing of electrons through the slit, right? And after this electron gun stopped firing, they wanted to see the result, right? So they would expect, and you would expect, that again, even if they didn't observe what was happening, these electrons would pass through these slits and would appear as an image. But what happened was, it was the electrons were everywhere, right? The electrons landed on random places. It didn't exhibit the behavior that you would expect from physical matter, right? And after some time, it formed an interference pattern, right? It is as if the slits were also over here and over here, but we know that there are no slits. The only opening in this barrier were these two. But then how come these electrons passed through these walls and appeared on all random places, and after that created an interference pattern? You don't need to know what an interference pattern is, but that is the name of this pattern. So what the scientists discovered was, when they did not observe what was happening, these tiny particles of matter, physical matter, behaved not like a particle, not like a physical matter, but they behaved like a wave. But when they did observe what was happening, these particles behaved as particles, as physical matter. So it is as if our act of observation impacts our physical reality, right? This is groundbreaking experiment that people still debate to this day. Even many scientists do not encourage this wave nature. They don't want to believe about this wave nature. They don't want to believe that electrons, these tiny bits of physical matter that comprises our whole universe, they don't want to believe that it is dualistic in nature. So an electron, matter, these electrons, they also have a wave nature to them, and they also have the particle nature to them, right? So there's a whole debate going on in the science community, but it is proven that these electrons, our physical matter, they also exhibit wave nature, and they also exhibit physical matter nature, right? So this is very oversimplistic view what I'm giving. I'm not a science expert, but this is the overall thesis of it, right? So I hope you understand this experiment, because this is where, because if you're a skeptical person, if you're a scientific person, it has already been proven our consciousness, our observation, our attention does impact physical reality. And with this fact, we can conclude that we can consciously create our future. And that is what manifestation is all about. Now, the one more truth that you need to realize is, everything is energy. And that is how everything is one, everything is connected. Let me break it down. So let's take our human body, right? So this is our human body, and it consists of 9 systems, right? So there's a digestive system, urinary system, there's a nervous system, there's a skeletal system. So similarly, there are 9 total systems that make up our whole body. And these 9 systems are made up of organs, right? And these organs are made up of tissues. And these tissues are made up of cells. And these cells are made up of molecules, right? And these molecules are made up of atoms. And these atoms are made up of subatomic particles. And these subatomic particles are made up of, you guessed it, energy. So you and I and everything else in this universe are just pure energy. We are all connected. We are all one. That is what I meant by that. We are all connected. We are one. We are just one being. We are all just energy, right? So I hope you understood this, because this understanding is crucial for you to manifest. Because without knowing all of this, if you are a scientific person, if you're a skeptical person, if you're a very rational person, without me explaining all of this, you wouldn't believe that everything is one, right? You might dismiss it like this is some spiritual woo stuff, but everything is proven. So we have concluded that our consciousness, our observation can impact our physical reality, and everything is one, everything is energy. So it gives us the power to change our reality to whatever we want, right? And we have also concluded that our physical reality is nothing but an illusion, and it's an effect, right? So if physical reality is an effect, then what is the cause? So our world is made up of body, mind, and spirit, right? And body can only experience or be experienced, right? And mind, it cannot experience, it can create, make up, or interpret, right? And spirit, it is just pure consciousness, right? It is all that is, it is everything. And this spirit gives life to mind and body. Spirit gives life to mind, and spirit gives life to body. So from this, we can derive, right? We can derive that there is not just one plane of existence, but there are three. So there's the physical plane, there's the mental plane, and there's the spiritual plane, right? So we have already talked about the physical plane. We have established the fact that physical plane is an illusion and it's an effect. So if physical plane is an effect, then what's the cause? The cause is the mental plane, right? And the cause of the mental plane is the spiritual plane. So now let's talk about the mental plane, which is the cause of our physical reality. And once we understand how the mental plane works and how we can use it, how we can align with that plane, that is how we can manifest whatever desires we want. So when we are talking about the mental plane, there are many names that many people give it, right? Some people call it the quantum field. In transurfing, they call it the alternative space. Some people call it infinite intelligence. And there are many names, right? So the mental plane is the cause of physical plane. And physical plane is the plane that you live through and you experience every day, right? And in the mental plane, creation is already finished. What do I mean that creation is already finished? So imagine there's an entire plane, and in this plane, all possibilities exist, right? Every single possibility that can happen in your life or others' life, or whatever possibility that can happen in this entire universe, everything already exists, and everything, like all creations, are already finished, right? So this mental plane, this realm, is pure potential, right? It is pure potential waiting to be realized, waiting to be materialized into physical reality, right? So in mental plane, every possibility already exists, and through our act of observation, we can select what possibility we want and we can materialize it into physical reality. So, to give you a spoiler, we will be talking about, as this video progresses, we will be talking about imagination and awareness. So, for example, when you imagine, right, whenever you imagine something, you are imagining what is already happening in this quantum field, in the mental plane. Like imagination is not just some fake thing that you do. It is not some spiritual woo-woo stuff. It is not just imagination. It is as real as it can get, right? Because whenever you enter into imagination, you are actually living a reality that is already happening in this mental plane, right? So when you imagine, right, when you imagine, you are illuminating a particular part of this infinite quantum field, infinite plane, right? And this particular part you're illuminating, if you keep focusing your awareness, your attention, and you keep imagining this particular scene of this possibility, and you pretend it is real, you actually believe and have the conviction, have the faith that this is real, and you do it for a particular amount of time, this will harden into fact, and it will come into fruition, it will materialize into physical reality, right? So when people say, like even I say, that you can create your reality, right? But you're never creating anything, because creation is already finished in this infinite plane, in this quantum field, right? So you can never actually create anything. Like whenever you imagine, you go inside your imagination, let's say you want more money and you lack money, and you imagine yourself having more money, then you are illuminating a particular part of this quantum field, and it is actually happening, it is real, right? So that is the mental plane. And once you align your desire to the mental plane through your frequency, through your mindset, then you can actually materialize it into physical reality. And that is what manifestation is, right? I hope things are getting more and more clear for you, because I have never seen anyone else break manifestation down to this extent. So your mind, your individual mind, is connected to the mental plane, right? And by using your mind, and your mind emits a particular frequency. You can call frequency as your mindset, which is a very oversimplified term, but you can still use it. So you can, instead of using frequency, you can use words like state of consciousness, mindset, rate of vibration. Like there are many names, right? And once you align to the right frequency, like I told you, right? This, imagine this is the mental plane, and you illuminate a particular scene. Once you align yourself to this particular possibility, then you can manifest your desire, right? As video progresses, things will get more clearer. So if you're getting confused, don't lose hope, don't click off this video, you will understand everything, right? So your mind always, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, it always emits a particular frequency, it emits a particular vibration, right? And according to this vibration, the possibilities on the mental plane gets materialized into physical reality, right? So that is how I am saying that the mental plane is the cause of physical reality. So let's take an example, right? So this is the mental plane, and this is the physical plane, right? So if you're aware through observation, you think that I don't have money, then your physical reality will also reflect I don't have money. Whatever state of consciousness or vibration or frequency that you occupy, that is what will get reflected onto your physical life, onto your physical reality. Now let's say you are trying to manifest. I am trying to manifest. That is what will get reflected, right? You are still trying. Or if you say, okay, I have no space, so you say, I have desire. You have what you want. So in physical reality, you will have it, right? So you can insert any desire you have. Once you occupy the state where you already have your desire, mentally, you will have it physically, because the cause of the physical life, of your physical life, is the mental plane, right? So now we come to the actual definition of manifestation is, right? Many people think that manifestation is you creating external reality. You need to realize that manifestation is not an external pursuit, it is an internal pursuit, right? So let me give you my definition of manifestation on how I understand it. Manifestation is internal fulfillment of desire, shifting the self from wanting to having. That is what manifestation is, right? Let me repeat it again. Manifestation is nothing but internal fulfillment of desire, shifting the self from wanting to having. That's how simple manifestation is. Manifestation is not you trying to force external reality to change. Manifestation is all about you internally fulfilling your desire, right? When you internally fulfill your desire, you emit the vibration that you already have your desire, right? And when you shift from wanting to having, that is what will get reflected onto external reality. That is what manifestation is, right? So how do you internally fulfill your desire, right? So now let's talk about frequency. So when you align your frequency the right way, you can fulfill your desire, right? So your state of consciousness, I like to use this term, right? Because it sounds so fancy, but you can still call it frequency or vibration, or whatever definition you want to call it, it's still the same, right? Or you can even call it your aura, like many people like to use this, but I like to stick with the primary definition, which is state of consciousness. So if you are in the state of consciousness and if you can align it to your desire, then you can manifest it onto physical reality, right? And this your state of consciousness has components. So when we dissect frequency or a vibration, there are many components to it. So there are beliefs, there's attention, there is thoughts, there is emotions or feelings, right? There is your reactions, and what else? There's your identity, right? Like if you comprise everything, you get identity. And also there's expectations, and you can even add confidence or conviction, right? So there are many components to our frequency, to our state of consciousness. So there are beliefs, right? So let's say you want more money. If you want more money, then you can't have the belief that like getting money is hard or making money is hard, right? So your beliefs needs to be aligned. I have videos for it, check it out. Your attention needs to be in place. Like if you want more money, for example, you can't be focusing on not having money, right? Once you start focusing on having money, that is how you align attention with your desire. And as for thoughts, you have like 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and not all thoughts manifest. What thoughts are important are the thoughts that emit emotional reaction out of you, right? So if there's a thought that invokes the feeling of lack, a feeling of jealousy or envy or disappointment, stress, these thoughts you need to be careful of, right? Because you can't engage with these thoughts. You don't control what thoughts you receive from the mental plane, but you do control whether you engage in it or not. So become aware and be aware of the thoughts you receive, and only encourage thoughts that promote abundance, that promote prosperity, that promote that you already have your desire instead of you not having a desire. So that is thoughts, right? And next is emotions. Emotions is the most dominant factor of your state of consciousness, right? So it is very much important on what emotions you go through every day. If you spend your day with worry, with lack, with stress, that is what will get reflected onto physical reality, right? Because your emotions, your feelings is directly tied to your frequency. It is directly tied to the mental plane. It is directly tied to your vibration. So if the vibration that you emit is worry, the universe will give more things to be worried about, right? So it's very much important. I have separate videos for every single component that we have discussing over here, right? Every single, like I have like many videos on beliefs, I have videos on attention, I have videos on thoughts, I have videos on emotions, I have videos on not being reactful, I have videos about how to change your identity, I have videos on how you can shift your expectations, I have videos on confidence. Like I literally have, I discuss every single component in depth in my other videos, so check it out, right? I like if I go in deep about each of these components, this video will be 10 hours long, right? So I'm just giving you an overall overview about how these components should look like if you want to manifest your desired reality. Next is reactions. Like since you established that our physical reality is nothing but an illusion and it's an effect, there's no point in emotionally reacting to our external reality. For example, if an unexpected bill pops up And if you get emotionally reactive, right, you get stressed or you get worried, then that gives power to our external reality, that gives power to your old frequency, right? Now, as the video progresses, we'll be talking about how you can change all of this simultaneously through tools like imagination and awareness, right? And when you use imagination and awareness, you will shift to a new frequency. And when you are in the new frequency, your old frequency will still use weapons like doubt, fear, anger. So it's very much important that you don't fall back to your old ways, right? So when you emotionally react, then that gives power to your old frequency. So you need to ascend your reactive self, and you can only respond. You can take your time and you can respond to any current situation, but you can never emotionally react. And you can't let physical reality to rattle you, because now you know that only thing that matters is yourself, your reactions, your frequency, right? And the next is identity. It is who you think you are. If you think that you are a person who is unlucky in life, then you will face situations, circumstances where you end up unlucky in life, right? And next is expectations. What do you expect out of life? Like, let's say you have a job interview, right? If you expect that you're going to fail, then of course you're going to fail, right? And next is confidence and conviction. So you need to be full of confidence, and you need to have the conviction that you already have your desire mentally, you already have your desire vibrationally, right? And when you're fulfilled within, you won't you won't ask questions like how long is this going to take, or how will my manifestations occur. None of these questions will arise if you have the conviction that you already have your desire, right? So I have made videos on all of this. Please check them out, because there are more important parts that I need to discuss in this video, right? Now, you don't need to change every single component individually, right? Now, that will take a long amount of time for you to manifest and live your dream life. Like, if you want, you can individually work on your beliefs, you can individually work on your thoughts, your emotions, your identity, but that is not what I recommend, right? So for us to attain the fulfilled state, for us to attain the wish fulfilled inside of us, we are using two faculties of our mind. So the first is imagination, and next is awareness. Now, I already gave you a spoiler on how imagination works, right? So whenever you go into an imaginative scene, you are not like, it is not fake. It is not, you can't think that imagination is not real. And whenever you go into imagination, you can't think that I'm only imagining so that I can manifest my desires. No, when you imagine, you are already living your desired reality, right? Like I said, you are illuminating a part of the quantum field, right? And the more you become aware of this one possibility, like for example, let's say you are living the possibility where you don't have your desire, right? This is the part where you don't have your desire. So we don't want this. We want the possibility where you already have your desire. So you shift your frequency, you attain fulfillment within, and once you're fulfilled, that emits a vibration that implies that you already have your desire, right? And once you become more aware of it, and once you maintain that particular frequency where you already have a desire, this possibility, which resides in the mental plane as pure potential, it hardens into fact and it materializes into physical reality, right? And that is why consistency in your practice is very much important, because if you don't take control of your day, for example, you wake up every day, right? You sleep and you wake up every day, I hope. And when you wake up, if you don't do the practices I'm going to give you, you let the world program you instead of you programming yourself, right? Like unexpected bills may pop up, chaos may ensue. So there are a lot of things that can happen, and that can affect your frequency, right? So it is very much important that you not only shift to a new frequency, but you also maintain that new frequency, right? So I hope this point is clear. So first we can talk about imagination, and then we can talk about awareness. So every day when you wake up, you go low. You first, what you need to do is get into a relaxed state. Why do you need to get into a relaxed state? You need to get into a relaxed state because when your conscious mind is active, it will sow doubts, it will sow fear or anger upon you. It might make you remember some bad events that happened in your previous life. So you can't, it will be very hard for you to concentrate on your desired reality, right? So to make imagination easy and to imprint our subconscious mind, it is essential, it is crucial that you get into a relaxed state, right? You can also call it the drowsy state, right? Like the moment before you fall asleep, you get into a drowsy state, right? So that's the state that we are aiming for. So every morning you just close your eyes and you take some deep breaths and you just sit in a comfortable position until you get into a relaxed state. Some thoughts may pop up, some emotions may pop up. You acknowledge it that it is there and you just release it and let it go, right? And that is how you get into a relaxed state. And you can take deep breaths, or you can even focus on the blackness, right? Like when you close your eyes, you can still see a black void, right? You can just focus on it, and the more you focus on it, after like 5 to 10 minutes or even like 20 to 30 minutes, like it depends on how strong your mind is, after 20 minutes or how much of time it takes, you will get into this relaxed drowsy state, but you will still be aware. We don't want you to fall asleep, because if you fall asleep, this will not work, right? We want you to stay in that drowsy state while still being aware that you're not asleep, right? So you need to get into a relaxed state, and that is the prerequisite to any manifestation practice that you do, especially if you're going to use imagination to manifest your desires, right? So get into a relaxed state and attain that drowsy state. And once you get into relaxed state, create a scene that implies you already have your desire. And you loop it so that it becomes normalized, right? So you create a scene, and I don't want this scene to be like 20 seconds or 30 seconds or even a minute, because if you take a scene of that length, your mind tends to deviate, like your attention will get split and you start thinking other things that are not important to our manifestation practice, right? So create a very short scene. It can be like 3 to 5 seconds, and once you create the scene, you can start feeling the fulfillment within. You can start feeling some emotions. You might feel excited, you might feel ecstatic, or you might feel euphoric, right? And once you enter into the scene, I want you to loop it again and again and again. And the reason we're doing this, because we want the feeling like you already own your desire. We want to normalize it, right? Because if you get excited or if you get euphoric, and if you maintain that euphoric excited state, then that means you don't believe that you can have your desire, right? You don't expect it. Like when I was discussing the different components of your frequency, one of the components was expectations, right? So if you don't expect your desire to come, it won't come, right? So excitement, euphoria, all of these emotions reflect the fact that you didn't expect that this to happen. No, we want to normalize the desire so much that it is a no-brainer that you already have your desire, right? We want you to have the attitude that, of course, I have my desire, of course, right? So for your desire to be normalized, and instead of keeping it in some huge big pedestal, we want to bring it down, and we want you to attain a detached state. So for you to become detached, for you to easily let go of the desire and attain fulfillment within, we need to normalize it. And for us to normalize it, we are looping the scene again and again and again until you're exhausted, or until you feel like it's a normal part of you, right? So that's the main practice, right? And then, and after your desire becomes normalized, you end the meditation, and next step is awareness. So this is how you use imagination. And once you have done this practice, now comes the most important part, which is awareness. I mean, both are important, but this is also crucial, right? So by doing this practice, you have shifted to a new frequency, right? So the state that you occupy matters a lot, right? So you have attained that fulfilled state within, and we want you to maintain that state throughout the day. So that is where awareness comes in, right? So I want you to be aware and maintain the fulfilled state, right? And when you are in the fulfilled state, of course, your old frequency is going to mess you up. Sometimes doubt, fear may arise, right? So when doubt, fear, or when you start overthinking, you need to realize that it is just your old frequency trying to make you go back to your old ways, right? And the reason that this happens is you need to realize that your ego mind only wants your survival. Like how much ever bad your circumstances may be, if it ensures your survival, that's all that matters for the ego mind, for your old frequency, right? And your old frequency is also an entity. Like not to become too advanced for you, let's just pretend that it's an entity, right? And the more energy you give to this particular frequency, to this entity, the more it lives, and it also wants to survive, right? So the ego mind wants you to survive, and your frequency that became an identity, like ideas become entities once, like the more energy you give it, right? So the entity of your old frequency and your ego mind, both of it wants to ensure its survival and your survival, right? So for the ego mind, how much or bad circumstances it may be that you are in, you are still living, you are still alive, right? But when you start changing, when you change your frequency, then that means your environment is going to change, your life is going to change. And change means bad for your ego mind, right? Because for your ego mind, it thinks that, okay, survival may not be there, you may not live, right? Because your old circumstances proved time and time again that you can live, right? So when you start changing, the ego mind doesn't like that because it thinks that you are in danger. So what it uses is it uses doubt, it uses fear to make you go back to your old state of consciousness, to your old vibration, right? So that it can sleep in peace, that you can still live, that it can ensure your survival, right? So don't fall for doubt or fear or any negative state or emotion that pops up, because you need to realize that it only happens because of your old frequency, your old, like your dumb ego mind, right? So once you understand the concept that I'm saying to you, once you understand on how your old frequency works, how your ego mind works, you won't take the doubts and fears that arises seriously, right? And that gives you power. Even if doubt pops up, you can still reaffirm to yourself, and that is the third step, right? So whenever you feel like doubtful or fearful, you reaffirm that it's done, right? So you can take one line of thinking. For example, whenever I want to manifest a desire, I do this and I become aware of myself throughout the day, and I monitor my mind. And sometimes doubt and fear pops up, and sometimes I may fall victim to it, but I take control of myself and I reaffirm that it's done, I already have it. Reaffirm and thank God. Now if you're an atheist, then you can thank the universe, right? So you reaffirm and you again maintain the state, the fulfilled state that you got from imagination. So every day, every morning, you wake up, you do this imaginative practice, and you maintain your awareness throughout the day so that you can maintain your frequency. And by doing this, you work on your beliefs, you work on your thoughts, you work on your identity, you work on your old frequency, right? You work on all components simultaneously. But sometimes one of those components may be too weakened, right? You might have very bad core beliefs that are sabotaging you, and sometimes this may not work, right? But for majority of people who are watching, this will work, it works. So try it out, experiment with it. I don't want you to blindly follow me. Experiment with this and see your reality change for yourself. But for the small amount of people who think that I'm doing all of this correctly but still my reality is not changing, for those of you people, check out the link in the description and book a call with me and we can talk, right? Because once we start working together, we will work on a very fundamental level. We will work on all components either simultaneously or individually, right? So you may have these subconscious blocks that are blocking you from living your desired reality, and you may not know it. So book a call with me and let's figure out where where your frequency gets sabotaged, and we can fix it. We can just small tweaks, you will be living in your desired reality. So it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a corporate worker, if you have a business, or if you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, if you're any high achiever, any type of high achiever, you can book a call with me and I will talk to you, right? So coming back to the point, this is the practice. You imagine you go into new frequency and you maintain the new frequency through awareness, right? And that is how you attain the fulfilled state, and you maintain it, and you maintain it for a long amount of time. And once you become consistent with this new frequency, your desire will get materialized. That possibility where you already have your desire, it will get materialized into physical reality. And that is how manifestation works, right? So there are some few more concepts that I didn't discuss in this video, and they are also important, so I will just briefly cover it. But let me tell you again, I have like over 100 videos discussing every single facet of manifestation, and I go deep within every single video, right? So make sure you watch my channel, because I am creating videos for you to watch, and they are free. Like, it's free. Why can't you watch it, consume it, implement it, change your life, and then comment down how your life changed? And that's enough. That's enough for me. So there are some more concepts that I didn't discuss enough, right? So there's emotional releasing, or you can say letting go, right? So there might be some baggage, some emotions that, like, you might be still stuck in the past, and even if you try to imagine and try to shift it into a new frequency, those old repressed or suppressed emotions are still blocking you from your manifestations. Like, you can't come out of those emotions, right? And the best thing you can do is take 30 minutes out of your day, and first you need to journal about what incidents in the past, or what things are bothering me every day, right? So once you become aware of what events are bothering you, you can just sit down and let all the emotions that you're suppressing come up. When you just sit and do nothing, all the repressed and suppressed emotions that you have been having, it will come up inevitably. And you should show no resistance. You don't judge yourself, you don't label the emotions. You will feel these sensations within your body. Those are the feelings and emotions that you have been suppressing. Let yourself feel it completely without any resistance, and that is essentially letting go, right? And once you do it for how much ever long it takes, how much ever days it takes, like whenever these old emotions pop up, you keep releasing it again and again and again, then you create a vacuum. And once a vacuum is created, you can use imagination and awareness to shift into a new frequency, right? Now, of course, I'm explaining this in a very oversimplified way. Like, I have made dedicated video on emotion releasing. You can go and check it out, where I go in deep about how you can release your emotions and shift to new positive emotions, right? So manifestation is not just about you creating new realities, it is also you decreating your old realities, you becoming aware of your old emotions and you consciously releasing it, right? So manifestation is a game of subtraction and addition. Addition is you creating new realities, but there's also, if there are things for you to subtract within you, you need to do that, right? Again, if you need help with this, and if this seems overwhelming for you, like, of course it may seem overwhelming for you, but it's very simple. But if you don't want to go alone in this journey, like, this entire process gets 100 times more easier with the help of someone who knows what they are doing, right? So again, check out the link in description and book a call, because all of this will be condensed and personalized to your situation, and that's very powerful, right? So make sure to check out the description. Like, I know I'm self promoting a lot, but like, I'm giving all the sauce over here, right? So like, I think I deserve a little bit of self promotion. Like, if you don't like self promotions, I'm sorry, you can unsubscribe and go. But I like teaching and I like helping people, so what can I do? So yeah, that's emotional releasing. What else did I forget? And yeah, of course, if you want to learn more about the components that I discussed in this video, like beliefs, identity, conviction, confidence, expectation, reactions, I have videos for it. Like I will insert those videos in the description, and you can watch those and learn more about those components if you want to. But the practice of imagination and awareness alone is enough for you, right? And I think, yeah, I think I covered everything. So that's it from me. If you like this video, please like it, and come if you have any questions, like any doubts or questions that you want to ask me, comment it down below and I will be sure to respond, right? I promise you I will respond. So if you have any questions, comment it down, and that's it from me. I will see you in another video.